Hi, welcome to Element training video covering how to work with moving lights or multi-parameter devices. Quick little blurb about working with MLs. The Element itself is designed as a kind of conventional desk, much like the expression console, working with channels and dimmers. However, it's not uncommon today to add in or rent, or sometimes you even own, some multi-parameter devices, color scrollers, LEDs, moving lights, and Element has the ability to control those. If you're working with them occasionally or you have a couple of them, this is the perfect desk for that. As you expand or get larger, if you're getting into larger numbers of fixtures, there are other desks that you might want to take a look at. So if you're kind of shopping at this point, maybe take a look at our Ion videos as well. For those of you who are looking at these because you already own the Element, let's take a look at how to control multi-parameter devices or moving lights. We're going to select some channels that I have already patched for some fixtures. These happen to be Vari-Lite 3500s. If you want to know how to patch those fixtures, there's another video available. A quick word about the view we're looking at right now before we do anything else with these fixtures. This is the live table view, which shows us the parameters of the moving light. Right now we're over in the beam category. We use the arrows to move right and left across those categories. The default is going to be intensity first, focus, color, and then using the arrow back to beam. If we don't want to see them displayed this way, we can also tap the format button and come back to what's a more traditional channel style view. So we have we have channels that show information about what the particular device is. So channel 1 here is a conventional with just a straight line, and these are moving lights with the wavy line, and the 3 pluses mean focus, color, and beam. We'll take a look at what those pluses mean or what they represent in another video. So let's go back to the table view, and we'll reselect 101 through 106 to reset our screen to where we want to see these controls. So if I put them at full, right now the intensities come on to full, and on our visualizer screen you'll notice that the lights have turned on. But now I need to get access to pan and tilt and color and these other controls. And the way I do that is with the ML controls button. And I tap that button and we open up the display down here on the bottom. And so now we can start working with the other parameters of our device. Depending on the particular fixture you have or combination of parts that make up a fixture, these controls will populate appropriately based on what selection you have. Not every fixture necessarily has color mixing. Maybe it only has a color wheel, so these controls won't be there. So depending on what that is, you'll see these different things populated here. First thing you typically want to do with a moving light is move them. So we're going to select, we're going to use pan and tilt. In this case, I'll give you a kind of a default rule for working with moving lights, and that is to use tilt first. And the reason you do that is, and we're going to tilt up here a little bit, is if you tilt up toward the stage in the direction you're going to work, it then gives you the widest range of pan, so that if you want to go right or left, you have the widest capability of that. Versus if you inadvertently panned it around all the way and then tilted, you might not be able to go any farther to the left or to the right, in which case the fixture has to do what's called a flip, and it kind of unwinds itself. So we tilt first, and you'll notice we're up on our back wall, and then we can use pan to move right or left. So in this case, we know that up moves right and down moves left. That may change depending on how the fixtures are mounted and what their orientation is when they're originally hung. So now that we know that how these directions work, let's talk for a moment about this quadrant view. This gives you the ability to kind of just move the fixtures to a place with just a click into kind of a general category or general area. So we know that this area up here is the back wall. So if we want to move it down onto the stage and to the right a little, we simply click and the lights will pop down there. Or over here. In this case, we're going to kind of put it back up toward the back wall. And we're a little high, but we're in the general vicinity, so now we can come back over here and use tilt and move the lights back down. We'll leave them there so we can kind of see what happens with these other controls. Actually, before we move on, another feature here is the home button and this little minus key. If we tap the minus, you'll notice that we collapse our views so that we don't necessarily have to do as much scrolling back and forth to access the particular controls. So if you happen to be looking for focus and you're not seeing that little grid, you can come to the focus tab here and click that and it'll open it up. We'll take a look at home in just a moment when we play with color. So we use our arrow here to the right and we move our controls over. And we're now looking at the color mixing system of this particular fixture, which is cyan, magenta, and yellow. So you can certainly use just these three controls and work with cyan, magenta, yellow to move the color around. That can be a little challenging at times to kind of figure out how to get to an area. So if we take the magenta out at this point, I know it'll kind of go to the green, yellow and blue. So even easier than that is working with our color picker, which is the color wheel here. And as you click, the fixtures will go to that particular color. The black line represents what these particular fixtures are capable of. So depending on the fixture, that line may shift around. And it may not be there for every fixture. Part of it depends on if they've been be calibrated by the company that gives us the information or for these controls. In addition to the color picker, we have a couple of other ways to work with color. The hue and saturation controls can be very handy. By dialing the saturation up to full, we can then use hue to move around the capabilities of the fixture around that color wheel. So if we get into the red range, maybe we don't want it quite that red, we can then dial the saturation down a little, and it'll move in toward the middle and soften the color. And then yet another color control is the gel button. If we select gel, we come into our gel manufacturers, and this will give you the ability to match what you may have working with your conventionals. So if we have some R71 we want to get to, we can simply, Lee 71, we can pop to that color, or we come into Rosco 26, and now we're kind of in that range. We'll get you as close as we can mathematically based on what the fixture is capable of. So I can't guarantee that that's going to be a perfect 26, but you'll be close. So now we want to continue on working with some other controls, and we want to get this back to white. Now I can kind of click in here and mess around and try to get there, but easier and faster than that is using this home button under the color category. When I click home, the fixture will go back to what its default white is. You'll notice here that it's just a little off of that spot on center. So as we scroll to the right, this fixture also has a color wheel, so we can, much like working with a scroller, which we've covered in another video, you can pop to the full frames of the color wheel. We'll send that back to home, and we'll continue moving to the right and looking at our beam category information. We have a gobo that we can insert. We can work with zoom and edge to make that bigger or smaller, and sharp or soft. An edge is what we would think of as focus on a conventional fixture, moving the barrel. In this case, on a moving light, focus references pan and tilt. So in order to simplify that, we've chosen the term edge, which is the edge of the beam. So we're going to home that category, and we'll home the gobo category, and we'll collapse some of that down so it's a little easier to see. This particular fixture has shutters. Not every fixture does, but it's easy enough to click and have the shutters move in or out of place. And if the shutter's at a particular place and we're not sure where it is, we can also home just the individual category, which is what the small houses here do. So we can collapse that down, and now you can see that we have a little more space to work with. We can collapse that one down, and we're just about to a single window. So that's the advantage of opening and closing those windows. So that's kind of an overview of all of the controls for working with moving lights. Thank you.